Okay, hang on a minute. Now, before I go and unfairly make this look like a brand new product launch video, let me assure you, it's not. But I made a thing. I made just one thing. I clearly remember this one day during beta testing when I wanted to just get super crazy with Habit. You know, do all kinds of things and try to break it. Twisting knobs, flipping switches like a madman. Even started yanking cables. It sounded cool to pull the audio cables out, disrupt the signal, put them back in. But what I really liked was pulling the MIDI cable out, disrupting the MIDI clock signal. It made the pedal get all confused and glitch out a bit. Then I just plugged the cable right back in, clock was restored, and the pedal went right back to tracking perfectly. What started out as an intense beta session turned out to be a super cool hands-on exploration in sound. The only problem was, it was a total pain in the butt. We already know that Habit is an incredibly inspiring device. But what happens when an inspiring device inspires the creation of another device? This is the MIDIgatr. And even though it won't be for sale on our website, I'm going to show you what it sounds like. And maybe how you can get similar sounds at home. Alright, let's try to break some of this down. There's a lot of things going on. So I'm running Ableton. It's running a simple drum and bass pattern. Ableton also kicks on the MIDI log, which is running a sequence. The audio of that sequence travels into the MIDIgatr with a couple kill switches and a volume fader. Then it runs out of the MIDIgatr into Habit. Habit does its thing. Then it comes back into the MIDIgatr, more kill switches and a volume fader, and then back out to your amp, or in my case, back into Ableton. So let's go ahead and kick Ableton on here, and it's going to automatically start the MIDI log, and let's see what's going on here. So the audio coming from the MIDI log, we can actually fade it into Habit using this volume fader. We can also use kill switches on the front and the back side of Habit. For a delay, kill switches are better at the end, which is why I also have like a post sound manipulation thing going on here. You can set your delays, fade this back out, and then use this fader to bring that delay down. Alright, what's going on with this expression roller? Nothing fancy here. It's kind of like if you've ever seen those like expression slider pedals. It's one of those, but it's just housed inside the MIDIgatr. The signal gets sent out this TRS cable, and it'll control any parameter on your Habit that you have set up with your dip switches. Right now, I'm just controlling the modifier. So if we activate that, it gives us something like this. If you see where I have the knob set currently, I'm doing the full sweep, so that kind of in the middle phase that you hear there, that right there, that's the knob at noon. So I'm kind of getting like both sides of it. If you only want like one end of that sweep, you just put that knob at noon, and then you have like more of a single-ended. I I kind of like this for that record scratch sound. Whoa, what just happened right there? Well, let's not forget that this thing is called the MIDIgatr. Dead center in this pedal, we have a toggle switch and a tap tempo button. Right now, when this is lit up and the toggle switch is on, MIDI is flowing from Ableton into the MIDIgatr, and then the MIDI runs out to Habit. Now right now it's running smoothly. We hear everything tracking, we can see the LED. But as soon as I cut the MIDI, now it's not receiving MIDI clock, and I can tap in something else. You can kind of get it all going crazy. Then as soon as I flick the switch, it syncs right back up to clock. One of the really fun things is while it's clocking and everything, you can actually just tap this, glitch it out a minute, and then it'll come back. Lots of possibilities here. Alright, so now you have a pretty good idea of how the MIDIgatr works. But, I mean, what good is any of this if you can't do some of this stuff at home, right? I'm going to go over each little part, and we're going to talk about how you can maybe do some of these things with a few tools you might have at home. So let's divide this MIDIgatr up. We have pre and post volume faders. Now, you can do that with something like a volume pedal. There are smaller ones that have like a little fader on it for desktop use. I don't feel the need to demonstrate how a volume pedal works, but just put it somewhere between your instrument and Habit, or after Habit and your amp or DAW, and you'll get the same effects as these two faders. Our third fader is expression. You can use any type of expression device. Here's our EXP. Just plug that straight into the side of your Habit. That's all that's going on here. The tap tempo part of this, if you just hit the tap tempo on your Habit, it'll do literally the same thing this is doing. Now the hard part is switches. A lot of you don't just like have switches in a drawer at home like I do. But I'm going to show you how to kind of make your own switch, and you can use it in any of these places before or after Habit, and you can even use it where I have this switch on the MIDIgatr part. For this part, we're going to go to the Chase Bliss Science Cam. So what you're going to need for this part is really just like any two guitar patch cables, 3 or 4 inches of wire, and some tape. Try to use cables that have like an exposed sleeve so you can touch them together. And then what you're going to want to do is take those 2 sleeves and just tape them together. You need those contacting one another. And then on the tip here, I took that wire and wrapped it around. You can see that little groove in the tip. I want to wrap it into that groove, and I just put a piece of tape on it so it wouldn't move. And then you have 2 types of switches. One is momentary on and one is momentary off. So essentially this cable, which was 2 cables, now becomes 1 with this funky little thing in the middle. So here's the whole cable. This end goes into my DAW. All right, so let's go ahead and get something started on the sequencer. All right, it's coming through because right now the wire is touching the tip. So if we want this to be momentary on, we undo that connection, and then every time I make this connection, we have a momentary switch. Now, if we want it the other way around, momentary off, again, we just wrap this around, and now every time I short it out, it cuts the signal. It works-ish. It's got to be about the world's worst switch right there. Anyway, some of you may have better stuff to use at home. If you have switches, you can build a little box with a switch in it. By all means, do it. But I'm just trying to show something that anyone can use. Yeah. You can get pretty chill with these techniques too. Let's just mellow out to this for a while.
It looks expensive.
I think we're headed for global catastrophe at this point.
Oh, these are satisfying. Those are very satisfying. Yes. An air horn pedal.
You're supposed to just kind of look confused, but you're like actually kind of figuring it out.
But that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Bring it back.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. I almost forgot. Yeah, this was the very first, well, it wasn't called a MIDIgatr yet. It was just called the stop box. The switch lights up though, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, this just had like one input and one output. And that was it. And this like shorted out the signal. Everything starts somewhere.